Hey, this is Dr. Fault again. I'm going to be talking to you today about Introduction to Dragon Medical 10, which in my opinion is an excellent program. I think it's the next best thing to sliced bread in terms of medical dictation and making our lives a lot easier. Having said that, it does take a little bit of training. It takes some time to get this to work for you, but I think you'll find that the training is fairly straightforward and it's easy to use once you get it going. Now I'm going to say up front that I use a handheld microphone rather than a headset. Mine is USB powered. It's the Philips speech mic, and not that I'm advertising it. I don't think it's the best one on the market, but it's the one we have here. And so it has some functionality that, in addition to the headset, and that's the main reason I mentioned it. One of them is that I'm using it as a mouse because it has a trackball mouse in it. So some of the things that I'm doing here might not be as easy for you to do if you don't have one of these, but don't worry about it. Most of it will work very well, and I'll let you know as we go along. The first thing to do with this particular program is get it started. So I'm going to hit the Start menu, and you'll see here that Dragon Medical 10 is the program with a little green flame. If you don't see it in your menu here, which you probably won't if you've never opened it, you can go into all programs and find it that way. And it's right over here, Dragon Medical 10. Took me a minute to find it, same program. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it will open up. The first time you start Dragon on your computer, you're going to have to train it. And it's, again, a self-explanatory type process. It'll walk you through it. Anytime you start a new speech device, if you switch, for example, from the headset to a USB microphone like I have, you have to set up the microphone source and train through it as well. It's not as long, the training is not as long, and really all you're doing is optimizing it for input. And I'll show you what menu item will allow you to do that. If you start it with a new device, it does it automatically, but I'll show you where the menu is to optimize speech. And we may even do it one time just so you can see what I mean. It takes a minute to load, mainly because I have another program running that allows us to videotape the screen here. So just bear with me. And we're about to start up. And we're going to ignore that. Okay, so if you look at the top of the computer, you'll see that this is what's called the Dragon bar, or the Dragon ribbon. I'm going to open it up a little bit, and you see if you click this button, you'll get a little bit more information here. This ribbon is basically to allow you to do playback and transcribe. We don't typically use it. It does also tell you which vocabulary is loaded and what device I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and close that because it's not really going to play into what we're doing. And then go over this ribbon. When you open Dragon, there's the little dragon emblem. If you click on that, it will give you options as to how to dock the ribbon. So you can dock it on top mode like we have it here, or if you click here, it'll move it down to the bottom. If you choose to have it on floating mode, that'll allow you to move it around the screen if you click on it. Or if you choose to have it on cling mode, it becomes very small and it clings wherever you put it. Or you can leave it down in your tray icon. If you do that, you will only see it down here. And if you choose to do anything with it, you have to go to Restore Dragon Bar mode. And I like to have it at the top. That's just my personal preference, but you can do it any way you want to. You can also close the program by going down to close or hitting Alt F4, but we obviously aren't going to do that right now. And then let me get that to go away. If you look, you will also see a red microphone here. This is the icon that turns your microphone on or off. There's a red microphone here. If you look down at the bottom in the toolbar, there's also another red microphone. And then, finally, if you look here, there's a red microphone. So you really have three different ways to turn the program on for dictation. The other thing about this, and we'll see this in a minute, is you can set a hotkey to turn the microphone on and off. And I've basically set my hotkey up through the computer, and so, or a hotkey up, excuse me, with a handheld microphone. And so I have a button on my microphone that I can push to turn the microphone on and off. And I'm about to do that. And when I do, you'll see that the microphone will turn, go upright. Like so. And this screen will become green, basically indicating that the microphone is working and that it is accepting dictation. Now, the reason we're not dictating anything is this little circle is gray, which basically tells us that we are in a screen that doesn't accept dictation. I just moved that out of the way so we could see. Of course, it takes it a while to figure it out because I've got multiple programs running. I'm going to turn the microphone off by clicking the button. And as you can see, it's off now. There are a couple of other ways you can handle this microphone. When you initially start the program, you have to turn it on or off. But if you want it to pause and be off just temporarily, you can simply say, go to sleep, and it'll fall over to at a 45-degree angle, and that just lets you know it's paused. And let's try that now. Go to sleep. As you see, when I get the letters out of the way, it's at a 45-degree angle now. It's still, the little bar is moving. That basically tells me that my input device is working, but it's not accepting dictation at the present time. And if I wanted to switch that over to accept dictation, I'd just say wake up or listen to me, and we'll do that now. Go to sleep. Wake up. Wake up. Listen to me. I turned it off rather quickly with the button. Since I don't typically tell mine to wake up or go to sleep, it's not as well trained as others would be. If you use the command all the time, the program gets better at listening. Since I have it programmed to my handheld microphone and don't use that command, it doesn't pick it up as well. Now let's look at some of the other menu items that you have available to you. This is the Dragon menu, and if you look at the Dragon menu, there are several options. One is Open User, and what this allows you to do is switch between different user inputs. And you'll notice here that I have two USB microphone types, one for general medical and the other for email, and that's what I typically use. And so if I wanted to work in Microsoft Outlook, I'd need to be using email, because with a large medical dictionary, if you try to do email, it tries to interpret all the words as medical terms, and you'll get a lot more misspelling. If you're going to use this for Outlook, which a lot of people do, you just switch over to an email dictionary. And the way you do that is you essentially go to a new source. You click on the New button, and it's going to move a little slow again because I've got a pretty intensive program running at the same time to record all this. So I would put my name in there to create a user, and then I'd have to choose from a library. And as you can see, there's an awful lot of libraries in here, and I've got general medical going, but there are many different types of libraries that you can choose from depending on your specialty and so forth. And you just basically pick the one you want and assign it. Now, since I've already got what I want, I'm going to just cancel out. And go back down here to my, actually I'll just cancel out because I don't want to change anything right now, but just to show you how to do it. And then the other thing is you have a source. You could add a new source if you wanted to. And right now you have the option of desktop array, which I don't think anybody's using right now, but these are some of the different options you have for input devices. And I'm going to bail out of this because, again, I don't want to do it. Don't want to change any. And I'm going to cancel this. All right, so let's just look at a couple other things. If you have multiple users on the same machine, you can open a recent user. And as you see here, I've used this for email and for medical dictation. So these are the two users I have, and this is a lot quicker to switch back and forth from email to general medical. Now, when you switch to email, for example, it's going to close out your current one and open another one. That takes a couple minutes for that to do that. So it's not incredibly quick, but it would be a lot quicker if I didn't have this other program running. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's what you certainly could do that. And it's a quick way of going to another vocabulary. And then here's the manage vocabulary, and you can add these vocabularies to your list, which is what we just looked at in the previous menu option. And the way you do that is just same thing that we did before, new, and you name the vocabulary, whatever you want to name it, and there's that same list that we use. And that'll put it in your vocabulary list so that when you go to, and then we'll go back to it, when you go to recent user, it'll also be in this list, so you can toggle back and forth rather quickly. So open recent vocabulary. Again, these are the other, this is the list that it would be in. I'm sorry, I set up here, but it'll be in this list if you add another vocabulary. Then if you want to save your user files after you've dictated quite a bit, and especially if you made a lot of corrections, because when you make corrections, it teaches Dragon how you speak. You can go to save user files, and it'll save all the corrections you did, so that next time when you use Dragon, it'll be more accurate. Now, there are some tools that come with Dragon that help you do a better job. One of them, one of the most useful tools, is the Accuracy Center. When you click on that, and when it opens, because it seems to be taking a fair amount of time right now, it gives you an opportunity to check your audio settings with the microphone type that you have to make sure they work. It gives you an opportunity to run the acoustic and language model optimizer to help you get a better recording. And then if you are having trouble with Dragon recognizing your speech, even weeks or months after you use it, you can always perform general training by clicking on this button, and it'll help improve your performance. The command browser actually falls under a different menu option, but you can access it from here too. We're going to see that in just a second. If you want to improve words to, or excuse me, add words to your vocabulary that are not currently in there, if you notice that Dragon, every time you say a word, puts in the wrong word, it's usually because it doesn't exist in the vocabulary. And so you can add it by coming to this menu and doing it. There are other ways you can do it, and we'll go over those too, but this is one way to do it. To add words from your documents to your vocabulary, you can click on this. Increase accuracy of email. This does some interesting things. One of the things it does is look at your sent items folder. It analyzes how you write letters and how you write email, and so it trains Dragon that way so that it conforms to how you normally do business. And so it kind of helps it anticipate what you're going to say. If you want to add a list of words to your vocabulary, you can click on this. There's a, for example, a list of military specific terms, rank and so forth. You can click on this and it'll add a list to your vocabulary. We're going to do that just briefly. And what it's going to do here is have you add a file, and the file is a text file. You click on this, and in my case I had these in my Dragon bar. I've already imported these, so I'm not going to do it, but these are the military health system terms. These are terms that are used in our military health system, and these are ranks for the U.S. Army that somebody's already developed as a text file. You just click on it and import it, and it'll import it into your dictionary so that when you dictate captain, for example, it'll come out capital C-A-P-T. Then running the vocabulary optimizer is another way of helping it become more accurate. Now, we're going to bail out of this one and look at the command browser, which, if you remember, we could also access the command browser through the Accuracy Center, but you can look at here and see all the commands that Dragon has allotted to it, including especially the commands that I put in here. And in order to have a command, you have to initiate the first word in the command has to be a command name. In this particular case, for example, I have insert diabetic foot exam, and the first word is a command word, insert, and then the diabetic foot exam is what I have named this particular macro that I want to put in. Now, another command name is paste. You could use paste, and in this case it says paste excisional biopsy. So these are all commands that when I'm dictating, if I want to insert the general exam or paste history of chest pain, as in right here, you can just say that, and Dragon will put in the text that is part of the macro. And let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to open this so that with this command, if I were to say paste history chest pain, this macro would be placed in the patient's note. Patient presents with a day history of chest pain. Patient reports an onset of pain but denies shortness of breath. Patient reports radiation to the D, and they left this an area where you can fill in. I'm going to show you how you can make this better in a little bit later. And so the long and short of it is, when you say paste history of chest pain, this is what's going to pop into the note automatically. All right, so that's what the command browser allows you to do. It allows you to look at all the commands at the same time. Now that's important because, as you can see, I've got a lot of commands in here, and sometimes I can't remember which command goes with what, and so you have to take a quick look while you're dictating, and you can open it up and look for the commands that you have available to you. Now, if you choose, let's go back to tools here, you can choose to add a command, and it will give you the option of creating a new command where you put in a command name, insert or paste, whatever you name the command to be. You can put in a description of the command if you choose to, and then in this box you have to put the content. Now, there are several command types. text and graphics is the command most often used by docs and so forth. There are also macro recorder commands or step-by-step commands, or you can put in scripted commands where you actually do computer programming to script a command and tell it what to do. Now, I'm not an expert in that. Most of mine are text and graphic. Step-by-step commands are a little tricky, and the best people to teach that are the Dragon Nuance people, and they'll probably be coming to your site shortly, and that'll be one of the things that you might want to investigate with them. One of the things down here that I want to go over with you is this little box here is really a word processing box, and so you can put bold characters, italics, underline, and you can change the font. You can change the way it appears. You can put bullets in if you choose to. And then this little button is called the variable button. A variable is a field that the program can go to, and I'll demonstrate all this in a little bit, that you can input data only in that field and go on to the next field without changing the rest of the macro. And we'll go over that. Now, this little button here is the plain text button. Whenever you make a macro, you want to, if it's a text and graphics macro, you want to click the plain text button so that it'll look pretty much the same in every field you put it in, or that it will match the text that is already in the note. For example, in Alta, you don't want to have a font that's significantly different than the font that's already in the note, and by clicking this, it will allow the font to match what's already in the note. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. And just a couple of other things that are real important. This is the dictation box. The dictation box is probably one of the most important things to get a good mastery of in the program. And the reason why is this. There are some programs that will not accept dictation, or they may accept dictation, but they won't accept commands like macros or commands within macros. And some of those are AKO. AKO will not accept dictation. And CIS or Accentress will not accept commands. So it won't accept you inserting a macro into CIS, for example. It will not allow you to navigate through variable fields in CIS. All it will do is allow you to dictate into a window. So what if you want to use macros, for example, if you're doing procedures on a patient in CIS, a procedure, say you're putting in a central line, it will not allow you to put in a macro for a central line when a macro would be very, very useful in that case. So what you can do with that, and I pretty much do this with all CIS, is you can dictate your note in this text box and then transfer it into the CIS note after you get it like you want it. And the way you do that is after you dictate it, if you read down here, it says to transfer text, set the cursor to the position where the text should be transferred to and say transfer text command, or press hotkeys assigned to transfer text command. So once you get it like you want it, all you got to do is put the cursor in CIS where you want the macro to show up and say transfer text, and that works, and it works every time. Also, in Alta, the add notes section doesn't accept macros either, or at least sometimes it doesn't. And you can always use the transfer text method in order to get it where you want it. So let me just demonstrate to you how that would work. Insert vasectomy procedure. So this is a procedure note that I wrote for a vasectomy. And if you look in here, you will see areas like right here where there are brackets around the surgeon name, which is me, and around surgical assistant, date of operation. These are variables. By that I mean these can change over time. I might not be the surgeon if I give this macro to someone else, so they might not want my name in here. When you set this up, you can put whatever you want in the brackets when you make your macro. But what typically is in the in the bracket is these words default value. It's just a placeholder. So when we start dictating this note, I insert the vasectomy procedure and then I do this. Next field. When this is highlighted, I have really a couple of options. I can leave it like it is or simply dictate what I want to be in the field. Anytime it's highlighted blue, it will accept dictation. You don't have to say delete that to get rid of my name. You just dictate over it and it will fill it in. Next field. Mark Jones. Next field. 13 February 2009. Next field. 37. Next field. 3. Next field. Condoms. Next field. Condoms. Select next wheel. Delete that. Select condoms. Delete that. Next field. Next field. So I'm down at the end of my note, and as you notice, I had to make a couple of corrections. And all I had to do is select the areas that were incorrect and delete the ones that I didn't want. And that's just goes to show you that you actually do have to read what you dictate, because sometimes the program gets the wrong information in there. But as we look at this, we see that there are still brackets around minimal and brackets around none right here in these areas. And you certainly don't want those brackets in your note. So in order to get rid of them, there is a command in Dragon, which is probably the hardest command to remember, and it is clear variable delimiters, and it will take those away. So let's try that. Clear variable delimiters. Notice they're gone now. So if I want to transfer this text, I'm going to put it in Microsoft Word, and we all know how long that'll take to open. When I get Word open, all I really have to do is click into Word and say transfer text, and it's going to transfer. And I want to show you something else about this too, but we'll do that right now. Transfer text. So there's my note. But I want to show you something else that happens when you use the dictation box. Next paragraph. Paste that. Now what I did, I simply said paste that, and it put another copy in here. The reason I wanted to show you that is because in addition to having the information stored in the dictation box, I've set a default such that everything in the dictation box gets stored on the clipboard, so that the information isn't lost if something happens with the transfer text command. It doesn't disappear. The other thing that allows you to do, and this will be important later, is it allows you to take that same note and copy it into multiple areas without having to redo this over and over again. Alright, so I'm going to stop this particular program of instruction, and we're going to go on a little bit later into more detail about macros and how to get the most out of Dragon, and also using the PC generic AIMS form.